Danny sat on the porch, watching fireworks burst against the dark night sky. It was New Year's Eve, a night alive with promise. The air buzzed with excitement, a shared energy that connected everyone around him. Danny loved this time of year. The new year was a clear signal of change. It was not just about celebrations, it was about new beginnings. Danny felt it deep in his bones. He thought of all the opportunities waiting just ahead. Each explosion in the sky mirrored the hopes in his heart. This was his moment. Tonight, he would seize any chance that came his way. The fireworks lit up the night, each flash a reminder of what could be. With each crackle and pop, he felt a pull to make a move. The night was young. The possibilities were endless. As Danny gazed up, each burst of fireworks sent sparks cascading through the sky. The bright lights illuminated the faces of his neighbors. Laughter and cheers blended into a joyful chorus. Danny felt a thrill in the air. This new year promised to be different. He was about to start middle school in the fall. That thought lingered in his mind even as the night unfolded. The fireworks excited him. They were a mix of beauty and chaos. The sudden pop startled him, making his heart race. It was a strange feeling, excitement tangled with anxiety. His thoughts drifted. Would he fit in at the new school? Would he make friends? The fireworks continued to explode overhead, but Danny's mind was already racing ahead to the fall. Each boom echoed in his chest. He knew this moment was special, yet his mind was elsewhere. Danny took a deep breath, trying to focus on the laughter around him. This was a night to celebrate, and yet the anticipation of change loomed large. But one firework was different. It flickered and danced in unexpected patterns. It was as if it was trying to communicate something. Almost instantly, it caught Danny's attention. He squinted, leaning closer in his seat. The colors twisted and curled, pulling his eyes like a magnet. Danny couldn't remember the last time he saw fireworks. That thought struck him as strange. The sky exploded with bursts of light, but this one stood out. Each flicker felt alive, almost sentient. It moved with intention. Danny leaned in further, his heart racing. What was it trying to say? He was captivated. The other fireworks seemed dull in comparison. Each pop and crackle brought back memories. But this one ignited something deeper. He felt a connection. It was more than a show, it was a moment. In that instant, the world around him faded. All that mattered was the fireworks and its mesmerizing display. Danny realized he hadn't just forgotten fireworks, he had forgotten how to feel. Strangely, no one else seemed to notice it. The crowd around Danny was absorbed, lost in the ordinary spectacle of the night. But Danny felt different. That one firework sparked something within him, a sense of intrigue he couldn't shake. "Did you see that last firework?" he asked his family, who sat relaxed at the front of the house. They exchanged puzzled glances. "What firework?" they replied, genuinely unaware. Danny shrugged, dismissing their confusion. But then, it happened again. The same firework lit up the sky, vibrant and distinct. Once more, nobody around him acknowledged it. His heart raced. Why couldn't they see it? His mind raced, trying to piece together the mystery. Was it a trick of the light? A fleeting moment meant only for him? He stood there, isolated in the crowd, longing for someone to share this strange experience. Each explosion of color felt like a secret, a whisper in the night's chaos. Danny couldn't let it go. He had to understand. What was the deal with this firework? Was it trying to communicate something to Danny? If so, what was it trying to say to him? The firework fizzled out, but its message lingered. The questions hung in the air, thick with the scent of fire and anticipation. Danny felt a moment's weight, heavy yet electrifying, as he continued to watch the sky. That night, the dancing fireworks would reappear to him 3 times. The following day, Danny woke up early. He poured cereal into a bowl and scrolled through videos on his phone, letting the fireworks fade from his mind. Suddenly, A loud bang shattered his focus. Heart racing, he rushed to the window. Outside, the sky revealed a strange sight. It was golden, as if sunset had crept in during the morning. In addition, it was eerily hazy, as if there had been a nearby wildfire. This wasn't just a regular morning. It felt significant, charged with energy. Danny leaned closer, trying to make sense of it. What did it mean? The day held secrets he had yet to uncover. As Danny looked out the window, the firework flickered beyond his house. It pulsed like a living thing. This was no ordinary burst of color. It was vibrant, alive, throbbing with energy. Danny rubbed his eyes, half expecting it to vanish. A trick of the light? Maybe, but no. The fireworks glimmered defiantly, refusing to fade away. An icy shiver raced down his spine. He leaned closer, his heart pounding. Why did this feel so intense? The air outside crackled with anticipation. He couldn't look away. It was as if the fireworks called to him, urging him to step outside. What lay beyond that flickering light? He had to know. What's the deal with this dancing firework? Why was he the only one who could see it? He felt a mix of wonder and fear. The mystery loomed larger than life, and the questions hung in the air, unanswered. As the days passed, the fireworks beckoned him, urging him to understand its presence. Even at times waking Danny up in the middle of the night. It was a riddle he couldn't ignore. At that point, Danny was frustrated, tired, and getting more terrified with each second that passed. Weeks passed, and the fireworks continued to burst in the night sky. Each explosion was sharp and blinding, lighting up the darkness. Danny's friends and family began to notice changes in him. At first it was subtle, a slight shift in his mood. Then they saw the bags under his eyes. He was irritable, quick to snap at small things. His grades dropped. This was not the Danny they knew. When his parents asked him about it, he shrugged. "Everything's fine," he said, but his tone was flat. They exchanged worried glances. Danny's smile was gone. In its place was a mask of fatigue. Days turned into weeks. The concern grew. Friends whispered behind his back. They wondered what was wrong. Danny felt the weight of their stares. He felt their worry, but he couldn't share his struggles. Not yet. Now silence filled the spaces where laughter used to be. Alone, he carried a burden too heavy to share. Time was ticking, and something had to change. However, Danny felt a mix of fear and curiosity deep down. Each time they lit up, it was as if they were calling to him. What did they mean? Were they a sign or a warning? He eventually shared his worries with his mom. She smiled at him, brushing it off. "It's just fireworks, honey," she said with a comforting tone. But Danny felt differently. He sensed something deeper, something he couldn't quite grasp. He also knew that his mom didn't fully understand how long and often these fireworks had troubled Danny. They had become a nightly ritual. The colorful bursts made Danny feel small and lost. They filled the sky with noise and light, yet left him in silence. Each flash pulled him closer, igniting a spark of longing. What secrets were hidden in those bright explosions? Danny knew there was more to it. He had to find out. His friends at school laughed when he told them. "There's no fireworks, Danny," one said. "Stop being weird." It wasn't long before rumors spread that Danny was crazy. His classmates began to smirk and laugh at him behind Danny's back, sometimes even directly in front of him. The laughter stung. It pierced through Danny, leaving a cold emptiness. He felt isolated, trapped in a bubble. The world spun around him, moving forward while he remained stuck. He even questioned whether he'd make it to middle school, high school, or college. Those questions haunted him. Each day blended into the next, a blur of anxiety and dread. Spring was edging closer. Danny put on a mask of indifference toward the fireworks outside. He acted like they didn't bother him, but inside, Danny knew the truth. He saw them, he heard them. They were impossible to ignore. The fireworks became his secret. They danced just beyond his window, their glow flickering like a teasing smile. They felt alive, almost breathing. Each burst of color reminded him of something he couldn't quite grasp. They caught his attention, pulling him in. He watched as they lit up the night sky. He felt a mix of fascination and annoyance. The loud cracks echoed in his mind, disrupting the stillness he craved. Yet, there was something beautiful in their chaos. The fireworks painted a picture of freedom he both desired and feared. Danny clung to the secret. It was his alone, a hidden part of him. And as spring approached, he wrestled with what it meant. Danny wanted to confront it. He had tried this once before, a week after they started appearing. Danny had run out of his house in desperation. Chasing the light, however, nothing happened. Danny knew he needed to understand what it wanted from him, but how? The light was a mystery, pulling at him, urging him to break free from his loneliness. It's not like he could either talk to the light and receive a direct answer. Trust me, he tried. Why was it there, night after night? His heart raced at the thought of perhaps the firework having sinister intentions. Maybe Danny didn't want to know the firework's true intentions? Possibly, its true intentions were not the best. After much thought, Danny decided to use his allowance to purchase a drone he planned to fly towards the fireworks, hoping that an up-close view of the spark would give him some answers. With his new drone, Danny's heart raced as he opened the door. The cool air hit him, sharp and invigorating. He stepped into the darkness, his eyes scanning the night for the flicker of light that had caught his attention. Flying the drone into the heart of the spectacle felt like the perfect plan. With every flick of the controller, he would inch closer to the source of the wonder. The excitement bubbled within him. This was more than just a purchase. It was a quest for knowledge, a chance to connect with something larger than himself. He took a deep breath, feeling the weight of his choice. The drone was just a tool, but it represented so much more. It was a step toward uncovering the mysteries of the night. It didn't take long for the fireworks to burst into view. They were dazzling yet carried an unsettling edge, a mix of beauty and foreboding. Each explosion painted the night sky but cast strange shadows on the ground. The air crackled with tension. You could sense it, a feeling that something was about to change. The sounds of joy and celebration clashed with an underlying fear that hummed beneath the surface. Each boom echoed in your chest, a reminder that beauty can be fleeting and danger can lurk in the brightest moments. The night felt alive, but not entirely safe. Danny launched his drone and approached cautiously. Each second felt heavier, the air thick with tension. Then, without warning, the light began to fade. Suddenly, the firework erupted again, a brilliant explosion of color and light. It was a fleeting moment, a reminder of celebration and joy. Danny reacted instinctively. He captured as many photographs as possible, each click of the camera freezing the spectacle in time. With a swift motion, he guided the drone back down and landed it safely. The vibrant echoes of the fireworks faded, but the excitement lingered in the air. His heart pounded like a drum, each beat pushing him forward, urging him to reach the safety of his room. But just as he neared the door, his father stepped into his path. "Danny, wait!" The voice was firm, cutting through the tense air. The sudden stop jolted him. He felt the weight of the moment. Danny turned, a storm of emotions swirling in his chest, fear, anger, and confusion. Each one clamored for attention. "What do you want?" He snapped, the words escaping before he could hold them back. In an instant, he regretted his disrespectful tone. His father's gaze was steady, but a softness was beneath the surface. "We need to talk." The urgency in his father's tone made Danny's stomach twist. This wasn't just another conversation. This was a reckoning. He glanced back at his room, the door now a barrier between him and the chaos outside. But he couldn't ignore the gravity of the moment. "Fine," he said, bracing himself for whatever was coming next. The air crackled with tension. The silence stretched, heavy and loaded with unspoken words. "Let's go for a drive," Danny's father replied. The engine hummed softly beneath Danny as he sat in his father's car. They cruised down familiar streets, where memories lingered like dreams that refused to be forgotten. The faint echoes of laughter and chatter from nearby celebrations filled the air. Above, the sky sparkled. Fireworks burst in vibrant colors, illuminating the dark canvas. The fireworks were a spectacle, but they also marked the end of something. This night felt different. The air was thick with anticipation, like standing on the edge of a cliff. Danny's father turned to him. "Your mother and I are worried about you. These last few months, your grades have been slipping. Even though you seem like you've been resting, we know you spend most of the night staying up. We know you've been having trouble at school with your grades and the other kids." Danny stood there, unsure of how to answer his father. He could only repeat what he'd said before about the fireworks. His dad waved it away, dismissing the words like an annoying fly. On the way home, silence hung heavy between them. Danny could feel his heart pounding. He sensed his father didn't want to bridge the gap. When they arrived, the tension in the air thickened. Danny's parents had made an appointment with a specialist. They believed this person could help Danny voice what troubled him. The idea of talking to someone felt daunting. What would he say? What if they didn't understand? What if, just like everyone else, they didn't believe him? He shuffled his feet, trying to shake off the unease. But deep down, a flicker of hope sparked in him. Maybe, just maybe, this specialist could help him. Danny walked into his house with mixed feelings. What if he really was losing it, he thought? What if his parents, friends, all the kids at school were right? As Danny stepped into his room, a heavy silence enveloped him. He sank into his chair, thoughts swirling like a storm. Questions that had haunted him for months crashed against his mind, relentless and demanding answers. His gaze fell on the drone perched in the corner, a mechanical bird that had captured images of the world above. The device seemed almost alive, a silent witness to his struggles, and a tool that could document the whole truth. He reached for it, his fingers trembling slightly. Removing the SD card felt like extracting a piece of himself. With a quick movement, he inserted it into his computer, anticipation gripping him. Would the photographs reveal something he had missed? A clue? A moment frozen in time that could help him make sense of it all. The screen flickered to life, and he held his breath. Each image was a fragment of his journey, a potential answer to the chaos in his mind. Danny skimmed through the photos in shock. He sat frozen. Panic surged through him, hot and suffocating. He turned to run, but the world felt like it swarmed around him, dark tendrils curling in the corners of his vision. The flickering lights faded, swallowed by an oppressive silence. Then, with a final blinding flash, a firework display exploded. The colors erupted like a storm, dazzling and overwhelming. Seeing the fireworks made Danny almost want to throw up, especially now that he knew what it was. The display wasn't a typical firework. Behind its flashing light and colors was a flying saucer. Danny burst out of his room, a whirlwind of energy. The loud thud of the door echoed through the house, startling his parents. "Aliens! They're here! They're hovering outside the house!" he yelled, eyes wide with fear. His parents exchanged glances, unsure of what to make of this. They stood still, their expressions a blend of concern and confusion. Danny's came quicker, and each inhale was sharp and frantic. His heart raced like a drum in his chest. "Mom, Dad, you have to see," he said urgently as he pointed toward the window. The world outside felt charged, like a storm was brewing just beyond the glass. The silence in the room thickened. Danny's parents remained quiet, caught between disbelief and worry. "Please," he pleaded, desperation creeping into his tone. "They're here. You have to believe me." He could almost feel their skepticism, but to him, the sight was confirmed. The fear of the unknown loomed large. What if this was just the start? What if they were not alone? The tension hung heavy in the air. "Did you hear me?" Danny asked his parents. Suddenly, Danny's parents gave him a sinister smile. It was the kind of smile that would shake anyone's core. Instantly, Danny felt a chill creep up his spine. He realized these weren't his parents. They were imposters, shadows of the people he loved. Without thinking, Danny bolted from the house. His heart pounded like a drum in his chest. He tried his best not to look back, but when he did, he saw the beings pretending to be his parents chasing him. Their footsteps echo like thunder, and their movements unnaturally fast. Danny raced down the neighborhood, each step fueled by pure adrenaline. He could hear their laughter, a sound that twisted his stomach. They were playing a game, but this was no game. The air was cold and sharp, biting at his skin. He needed to escape. Every muscle in his body screamed as he sprinted down the street. They were close behind. Each second counted. The streetlights flickered overhead, casting an eerie glow. Danny glanced over his shoulder. Their figures loomed larger, more menacing. He had to find safety, fast. As Danny ran, the night sky erupted. Fireworks exploded overhead, their bright colors casting fleeting shadows on the ground. But amidst the celebration, a massive flying saucer emerged, looming ominously over the neighborhood. A beam of light shot down from the saucer, piercing through the air and locking onto Danny. He froze like a deer in headlights. With a sudden jolt, Danny floated upwards toward the spaceship. As he ascended, Danny looked down. The familiar streets transformed before his eyes. The vibrant town he knew faded away, replaced by a barren wasteland. Buildings crumbled into dust. Streets lay empty, lifeless. What had once been home was now a desolate expanse. He felt a chill run down his spine. The world pressed down on him, even as he drifted higher. It was a nightmare unfolding before his very eyes. Danny stood frozen, staring at piles of New Year's celebration hats across the ground. They lay abandoned, crumpled, and forgotten. Around him, flames flickered over a grim scene. A landfill of skeletons loomed nearby, their empty eye sockets staring into the abyss. He blinked, and suddenly the familiar faces of his friends and family began to twist and change. Their skin peeled away, revealing the grotesque forms of bug-like aliens. As Danny inched closer to the ominous ship, a crackling radio broadcast pierced the air. The static buzzed with urgency. The broadcast date echoed in his ears. New Year's Eve. It was a chilling tale of an alien invasion, a night that had transformed celebration into chaos. The truth was clear. He had been surrounded by imposters, hidden in plain sight. The invasion had begun, and he was caught in the middle. Danny stood at the threshold of the mothership, a chilling realization washing over him. He was one of the last survivors of this cataclysmic event. The ship loomed above him, vast and otherworldly. Its dark metallic surface shimmered. Time felt warped. Danny had no idea how long he had left. Was it seconds? Minutes? Hours? Days? Weeks? Years? He could feel the weight of uncertainty. It was at the moment one final thought occurred to Danny. Perhaps this was all in his head, or perhaps not. Both possibilities were terrifying.